Alex, I was looking at my old welding hood this morning, the one with the cracked lens and more character than a Dickens novel, and it hit me. We are living in the future, but I'm still out here smelling like burnt ozone and stubbornness.
Only you could find poetry in a piece of plastic that smells like a campfire gone wrong. Happy Monday, everybody. It's August 17th, 2026, and you're in the Tiger Den.
It's a big day. I've been digging through the latest industry pulses, and if you aren't excited about where the shop floor is going, you might want to check your own internal thermometer. We're seeing things in metalwork right now that used to be science fiction.
You're talking about that aluminum welding tech from The Fabricator, right? Because usually, when you talk about welding aluminum, the conversation involves a lot of colorful language and you throwing a tungsten electrode across the room.
Look, aluminum is a fickle beast. It's like trying to solder two sticks of butter together using a lightning bolt. If your timing is off by a heartbeat, you just end up with a shiny puddle on your boots. But this new pulse welding tech, it's basically giving a MIG gun the brain of a master TIG welder. You're getting those beautiful stack of dimes beads without having to spend 20 years developing the muscle memory of a surgeon.
So, you're saying I could actually weld a motorcycle frame without it looking like a pigeon had an accident on the joint?
Exactly. It's leveling the playing field. And it's not just the hardware. Shops are starting to use digital twins. They're simulating the whole workflow before they even strike an arc. It's like playing a video game of your project to see exactly where you're going to trip over your own feet before it actually happens.
I love the idea of failing in a simulation rather than failing on a $300 sheet of marine-grade alloy. But speaking of things that are actually worth money, let's talk about the trades. The new 2026 data just dropped, and if you're a plumber, you're basically the belle of the ball right now.
12.9%. That is the average pay jump for plumbing techs this year. To put that in perspective for the folks at home, that's double what the corporate office types are seeing. It turns out, when the world goes digital, people still need their toilets to flush and their hot water to stay hot. You can't outsource a burst pipe to an AI in another country.
ChatGPT, please fix my flooded basement. Yeah, it doesn't work. But the report mentioned something interesting: the full stack technician. That sounds like something a software engineer would say, not a guy under a sink.
It's the new reality. If you're just showing up with a pipe wrench and a prayer, you're leaving money on the table. The high earners now are the ones who can plumb a bathroom and then calibrate the smart home leak detection system and the gray water recycling sensors. If you can bridge that gap between heavy metal and high tech, you aren't just a contractor, you're a unicorn. And unicorns get to set their own rates.
So basically, don't just ask for more money. Ask for the company to pay for your smart home certifications.
That's the secret sauce right there. Negotiate for the knowledge, and the paycheck will chase you down the street.
Let's pivot to the maker moguls. I saw the Q1 stats for Etsy and Shopify, and I honestly thought there was a typo. $122 per active buyer? People are spending that much on handmade goods?
People are tired of disposable everything, Alex. They're exhausted by furniture that's held together by wood glue and optimism, which falls apart the moment you move apartments. They want something that feels like a human being actually touched it. But the winners in 2026 aren't just dumping stuff on a marketplace and hoping for the best.
You're talking about the hybrid model, which, for the record, sounds like a fancy car, not a business strategy.
It's simpler than it sounds. Think of Etsy like a crowded street fair. You go there to get noticed, to let people browse, but you don't want to live at the fair forever. They take too big a cut of your funnel cake. You want to lure those customers back to your own shop, your Shopify or your personal site. That's where you keep the data, you build the relationship, and you sell the high-ticket custom stuff.
Like a gateway craft?
Exactly. Sell them a leather keychain on Etsy, and then sell them the $3,000 custom saddle on your own site. And keep it niche. If you try to sell everything to everyone, you end up selling nothing to nobody. If you're the 3D printed workshop organization guy, own that. Be the king of the pegboard.
The king of the pegboard. I'm putting that on your tombstone, Tiger.
I've been called worse.
All right, let's get into the DIY mastery segment. You've been hovering over the Milwaukee 2026 pipeline reveal like a kid at a candy store window. What's actually worth the hype?
The new M18 orbital sanders. I know, it's just a spinning disc. But they finally cracked the code on the integrated vacuum systems. I spent half my life with a fine film of sawdust in my lungs, looking like a powdered donut by 5 o'clock. These new units are so clean, you could almost wear a tuxedo while finishing a cabinet. Almost.
I'd pay good money to see you in a tuxedo in this shop. But what about the heavy lifting? You mentioned the Sika water bar system. That sounds industrial.
It is. It's what they use in dams. and massive infrastructure. But it's trickling down to residential. If you're building a retaining wall or trying to turn a damp basement into a workshop, this is the stuff that makes you sleep better when a thunderstorm hits. It's about not having to do the job twice. There's nothing more expensive than a cheap fix that fails in 3 years.
Speaking of expensive fixes, kitchen cabinets. The mere mention of a kitchen remodel makes most people's bank accounts start weeping.
It's the biggest racket in home improvement. People think you need a degree in architecture to build a box, but if you use the pocket hole and carcass method, it's basically just Lego for adults. You build the boxes, the carcasses, out of decent plywood, you slap on a face frame, and you've saved yourself $15,000. That's not a hobby. That's a down payment on a boat.
Or a down payment on more tools.
Well, obviously, the goal is always more tools.
We've covered a lot today, from high-tech aluminum welding to the fact that plumbers are the new rock stars. What's the one thing people should take into their shop this week?
I think it's the realization that the line between blue collar and high tech has officially evaporated. Whether you're welding, plumbing, or building a brand, the winners are the ones who aren't afraid to plug in. Don't be intimidated by the new software or the smart systems. Embrace the full stack mentality. Treat your craft like the high level discipline it is.
And maybe try not to smell like a campfire.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. A little bit of shop smell is good for the soul.
Fair enough. If you want the pricing for profit spreadsheet or that guide on waterproofing, head over to the blog.
Stay gritty, stay creative, and don't be afraid to make a mess. We'll see you in the shop.